I'm now joined by Tom Esposito, the head coach of the Derry Area Trojans boys basketball team before they start the Class 4A tournament. And first off, Espo, congrats. Another postseason. I would imagine that's a big goal achieved for you, especially after you graduated some really good guys from last year's team. So how did you evaluate how the regular season and the ups and downs that came with it went?
Thanks, Sean. We're growing to have expectations here. This is our sixth playoff appearance in the last 7 years. We did have the nice run throughout the WPIAL playoffs and the state playoff tournament last year. We came into the season as a young team. We returned John Wozniak, who's a 3-year starter, and Stanley, who started as a freshman. And then we had some spot starters in Cason Long and Braden Robinson. But, we were young for a considerable amount of time this season, starting another freshman, Logan Irvin, most of the games. So as the season progressed, they got a little bit older by midseason, and just about a couple weeks ago, I told them, we're not a young team anymore. I told Logan, you're not a freshman anymore. We're all year. We've all played a lot of basketball this season. So the season, in a nutshell, was like a roller coaster a little bit. We were on top for a long time. And during that time, when we were putting some wins together for a nice streak that we had, we did not have our full lineup healthy for like 8 or 9 games. We were missing at least one starter, maybe two. But throughout that, we won 5 out of the 6 games whenever we were missing, a starter or two. And we just hit a skid the second round of section. We struggled a little bit. We didn't play well. Particularly turning the ball over and not shooting the ball well. Our defense has been solid every night this season. And, we grew through experience. And here we are back in the playoffs against a very good Central Valley team.
I know you said before the season that you were kind of on the radar for some of the better teams in the WPIAL wanting to play you. Obviously, you don't control the section slate, but the non-section. Do you feel as though going against teams like Quaker Valley, who are also in this playoffs, and then playing in the same section as a team like Bell Vernon, has your team maybe a little bit more ready for the postseason grind?
Yeah, definitely. And that's why we try to schedule as many exhibition games that, it's going to help us get ready for this time of year. The Quaker Valley game, Stanley played 8 minutes and it was 14-10 after the first quarter. I think that game would have been much different had he played the entire game. In Deer Lakes, we played Deer Lakes as well. So, yeah, we try to schedule exhibition games against teams that, we feel are going to be playoff teams, and hopefully it makes us better and more prepared for this game here.
It's a 12-team bracket. The Trojans get the number 11 seed, and to your point, go against 6-seeded Central Valley. So how did you evaluate how the bracket aligned with what your expectations might have been going into it?
Well, it's a fun time of year. I try to figure out what they're going to do. And I was pretty close after what happened on Friday night in 4A. I mean, that was a big night. There's some teams got moved around from what happened on Friday night. In Avonworth section, they lost to Beaver in overtime, so they shared the section. Kind of didn't expect that. Avonworth, was in first place all year, and then they have a very good team, but so does Beaver. They have that Mayo kid. I went to watch Beaver and Quaker Valley on our night off last week, and he's the real deal. But overall, Central Valley is very good, but I like the bracket that we're in. I thought it was fair for all teams for the most part. I thought EF might have been seated a little higher than what they got. But us Westmoreland County teams were kind of used to not getting not getting the respect and that we deserve out here, because we do play some pretty good basketball out here in Westmoreland County.
So I would imagine that for a lot of people who have followed Derry athletics for a while now, they are very familiar with Central Valley because some of the great matchups on the gridiron. But for basketball, you're not familiar with the Warriors, at least based on past meetings. When you scout them, what jumps out about them?
Well, quite a few things. We have like 8 films on them already, and we have to watch them very quickly because I did not expect us to play Friday. I thought we would start next week. But I have a great staff, and we started watching films before our game against Southmoreland last night, and then we got some more films as we were playing. So our staff is I cannot say enough about my coaches, my assistant coaches. They obviously make my job a lot easier. I have complete trust in them. So we're dividing up the films to really concentrate and take notes, and then we can just watch the other games that the other coaches have watched. Central Valley, very good defensive basketball team. They play the game hard. They play the game 94 feet and sideline to sideline. They pressure the basketball. They're a solid, fundamental defensive team. They're quick. They run their defensive system very well. Offensively, they like to push the ball. And Isaiah Peters, he's a very good player. And all the other players are just solid, looks to be physically strong, and they have some quickness. But I think they like to go through Isaiah Peters a lot, but we cannot shy away from any one of their offensive players because they're all fundamentally sound and they put themselves in scoring positions. We just have to be able to sustain the pressure that they're going to apply on defense.
Lastly, at the very beginning of this conversation, you talked about the expectations being higher because of last year. Does that change what ultimately dictates a successful season or not for the Trojans now?
No, it's just an expectation that, being in the playoffs 6 out of 7 years, we expect to be there. We have to work extremely hard here at Derry to earn that right to go to the playoffs. We have a couple players who you could consider true basketball players, but we have some great athletes that work hard. They listen. We teach, and they respond to our teaching and practice. I love coaching at Derry. Derry kids are, I think they understand also how hard we have to work to be successful, and I am so proud of what we do every day in practice and how we practice. And I talked about my coaching staff. I'm not a coach that does everything. We each have our roles, and I don't even consider myself the head coach. That's just by title. Matt Polinsky's been with me ever since I came back the second time. Mike Murphy has come back with us, and he has a great defensive mind. TJ Petrosky, he handles our rebounding and our blobs and slobs. And then we picked up Adam Bosco, who's a young, I don't want to say gym rat because those are terms for players, but he is a coach's gym rat. He's just so into this. We picked him up from St. Vincent. He approached me last year and he said, I want to coach, and I want to come coach with you and your staff. And I want you to mentor me. And Adam has gone above and beyond in scouting mostly, but always being there, anything I want to ask. So our players are feeding off of us. And that's what has happened in the past years and especially last year. But we do expect to be in the playoffs because of the time we put in the off season. And, the guys are starting to know our expectations, and they don't want to be the team that doesn't make the playoffs. I had a similar situation at Homer Center when I was up there. No team wants to be the team that stops the streak. So we got a lot of work ahead of us in 2 days to get ready for a very good Central Valley team, and we'll be prepared just like we are every night.
Well, Tom, thanks for doing this. Congrats again on getting back to the playoffs, and good luck.
Thank you very much, and good luck to all the Westmoreland County teams, and let's keep playing some ball for as long as we all can.